It is the Reaction Monday. John, hear you there. Thanks for dropping by, as you always do. This is where the rubber hits the road. It is World Cup week. World Cup week, people. So that means you got matches coming, folks getting to their final destinations, some folks training, and if a ball goes out of the training area in and of itself, you're not going to go chase it. We'll have that in opening kickoff. There's a lot for us to get into on a bunch of different fronts. Abe Gordon's going to join us batting leadoff as he always does. We're going to catch up with Abe in a sec about what he thinks about the men's national team, all the questions, maybe some answers. I don't know. We'll see if Abe has more answers than I do. Morning, Ricky. So here's the rundown for today. Opening kickoff, that we know. And lesson learned here is just don't go chase. Sometimes chasing after a loose ball and chasing after a ball that goes out of bounds might not be worth your time. So get into that. Got a lot of stuff to get into with the national team. Goal from the weekend, sound from Mauricio Pochettino. A lot to get into from the women's side. They are in Brazil. Press conference for the U.S. coming from Emma Hayes and others. Let me double check the time on this one. I think it's when we are going off the air, and it is 11:30. So it's at 11:30 this morning. So we'll be off the air. Emma Hayes comes in. Emily Sonnet, Jaden Shaw, they're going to be up and running after that. So we'll have that for you tomorrow. Then the match tomorrow at the Arena Castelao, 9:30 Eastern time on TBS Max, Telemundo Universo, and Peacock. But today at the MD-1, Emma Hayes, Emily Sonnet, Jaden Shaw. We'll have that for you tomorrow. So a lot to get into from the women's side. We've got some cup dates to get into, specifically Canada. And we've got an update on Christian Eriksen for this morning as well. So we'll have that for you. It is a chance for us to catch up on the twos. They had a win over the weekend. Jason had the call on the network as a part of our very, very busy weekend. Jason went from Nofo Gainesville to the twos in Athens. I went from Nofo Gainesville to Decatur. Drew Dickinson and I had the Decatur FC call. Big 1-0 win over Nashville Rhythm. And it was a big win in a tough conference for Decatur FC this year. So we'll have a little bit of talk about that. We'll have highlights from a couple of other matches that led into this week. Argentina, Honduras, no-brainer. We might have time to catch up with a really cool story having to do with the match at Kyle Field. And Fernando Palomo was on the call for ESPN Deportes. And it was a bit of a homecoming for him. We might get to that sound. It's in the queue. So plenty to get into on a bunch of different fronts, both national teams, Canada, cup dates, all the things, and your thoughts as well as we're getting into World Cup week. Well, actually, technically, we are in World Cup week, so who am I kidding? And wasting no time. Wasting no time. Abe Gordon dropping in. You are wasting no time, sir, coming in here today.
I was up early, did my regular run, and then just the way it worked out, got the dog walked and showered and came into work. And so I was here like 25 minutes earlier than normal. So I've gotten all of my good stuff out of the way, and here we are.
Right on. So I know that we are in World Cup week, and I am, as you can tell, I'm thoroughly excited by the whole prospect. I mean, I'm trying to wake up more than anything else, but the world is coming, man. And you got games that are going to start in the midweek, and it's going to be for real now. It's like you could have all the stuff in Chicago that Maddie Cruz was a part of and the send-off, no confirmation to the fact that she was actually on the field during the honoring of the 94 team. But she was at Soldier Field. It's all for real now, man. There's no more practices, no more exhibitions, no more send-offs. It is for real now going forward.
Yeah, no, I'm pretty excited about it, and it all starts Thursday. Obviously, U.S. goes on Friday, and we'll go from there. But look, the important thing was in a game against Germany is no one got hurt. You can start there because we have seen a couple of injuries, and certainly a couple of scary situations health-wise over the past couple of days. And it looks like one of the U.S.'s opening matchup may have lost one of their key players. So no one was hurt. Hopefully Chris Richards is back. I think that's one of the things that you did see in this build-up to the World Cup, not just against Germany, but Senegal as well. You could probably use Chris Richards their pairing in the back with Tim Ream. So that's obviously the first thing I think I'll be looking for on Friday. As soon as the lineups are announced, it's like, all right, do we have that guy in there or not? They've been pretty coy about the ankle, where it's at and what his availability will be. But I think you can see the U.S. backline certainly needs the boost that is Chris Richards. And then we go from there, because they are looking somewhat dangerous in the buildup and in the attack, and they were threatening. But that back line needs to hold it down a little bit better.
I was going to ask you, you don't have to make official announcements until 24 hours ahead. Canada is facing the same situation with a couple of decisions with Flores and Bombito. But you look at Chris Richards, and, I mean, this is where the physios earn their money. This is like, okay, stem, get it going. It's a 24-hour thing, and trying to get all that rest and rehab. If Richards, and I'm going to presume that he is going to be a part of this roster one way or the other, if he does not start, what are you looking at for a center back pairing heading into that first matchup for the United States?
Not Miles Robinson. Anything but Miles Robinson at this point after the performance against Germany. Yeah, I think that's one of the things you have to consider is just how do you pair it with Tim Ream? Is this a back line that needs top end speed? Is it someone you want with distribution or high end pressing? Kind of look, I don't think with Ream's speed at this point, he can be the last man back in defending one-on-one. And so I would look to favor someone who maybe you do believe can defend one-on-one. Look, it was not a great look against Senegal, but I thought you learned some things. And then it also kind of decides if you go on Malik Tillman or you using Freeman, like what exactly are you doing? I would say on the outside there as well. So, I don't think there's a great option. I think that's part of the discussion in that you want Chris Richards in is I don't think there's like another great option to just run alongside Ream and still feel pretty good.
Then let me ask you the follow-up question in this regard, and we'll have highlights and post after your discussion. What we also do here on the morning show, since Atlanta Soccer Tonight is wall to wall on 92.9 The Game, the Odyssey app, and the Facebook page, is we do a bit of a flashback. I'll always remind folks, okay, here's a part of what happened on AST. You can catch AST over there. Jason brought up, and this will be the soundbite that we play this morning. Jason brought up the goalkeeper situation. So then in your mind, is it Matt Turner or is it Matt Freese that will get the start? Who, even if they may not be the number one keeper, who gets the number one start? It might be two separate conversations.
Yeah, I would think that based on Freese starting against Germany and then Turner and Brady kind of flip-flopping against Senegal, that you're probably leaning towards Freese. Like, I don't necessarily think he's not a better option. He's not a worse option. It almost feels like him and Turner are kind of the same option.
Right.
Certainly, I didn't love the goal that he allowed to open the game. I thought it was close enough that he needs to attack the ball before it gets to Havertz's head. But that was a decision he made, and probably didn't think that Miles Robinson would be flat-footed defending there. So, look, I think there's some upside to each of them, some downside to each of them. It doesn't feel like you're making, I would say, necessarily a wrong decision either way. Just based on the fact that he started against Germany, I would think that Freese is your match day one starter when you take on Paraguay. But I wouldn't be surprised if it was Turner. I wouldn't be surprised if it was Brady, but I wouldn't be too surprised if it was Turner either.
Lineup against Germany, it was back three with turning the dial and having assistants as your outside backs. Listed at Sofa Score as a 4-2-3-1, but we know it's a 3-4-2-1, and then the whistle blows and everything, and all bets are off. Freese gets the start. Jedi, Reem, Miles, and Alex Freeman. Then in front of them, you had Tyler Adams and Malik Tillman, Christian Pulisic, Weston McKennie, Serginho Dest, and Falarin Balogun was your striker. And then obviously you get to the 62nd minute, and that's when you start to have your substitutions coming in. By the time you were done, you ended up with 10 substitutes for the United States, starting in the 60s, going into the 70s, and so on. Basically, 20 minutes to go, you had a fire wagon change of 6 players. So when you look at the starting lineup, was this a dress rehearsal in your mind with this lineup, in addition to what we were talking about in that?
Yeah, we spoke last week about where Serginho Dest was. And obviously, I felt like in this matchup, he was further up the field. Whereas against Senegal, he was maybe further back line and making runs from there. And I kind of liked having him as a two-way guy as he was against Senegal. And so it's just a matter of, do you want Tillman? Obviously, McKennie didn't start in that match, and that changes some things for Serginho Dest as well. And then I do think that Balogun is a different type of scorer than Pepe, who started in that match against Senegal. I think Pepe was looking to find some goals, but also looking to find some setup and create some runs and doing things. Balogun's going to get the ball and try and find a goal. And while I personally like that as an attacker, I do think it then requires a different look from those supporting him in terms of where they want to space, what sort of runs they want to make, and how they want to attribute best off of what Balogun's doing. And so it's going to be interesting to see if Dest is a little further up or further back on that right side. But other than that, I thought it was just pretty close to what I would expect your first team to be, again, with the question of Richards as well.
All right. So then if this is the starting 11, if you insert Chris Richards, starting 11, dress rehearsal happening against Germany. So it would be those 11 folks. Then we talked about Freeze and Turner. Who in your mind is key, underline, exclamate, italicize, outside of the names that we traditionally talk about? You know, it's easy for us to sit here and say, well, yeah, Christian Pulisic now, you know, he has the aura of, it's like things are going to happen. I'm going to tune everything out. You're going to have, Christian Pulisic, obviously a name that everybody's going to gravitate toward. Then let me ask you this. Outside of those names that are always constant in the conversation, for the success for the United States in the group stage and one of the toughest groups that is out there, who else are you looking at so the U.S. can be as successful as they can get out of the group stage and then you get into the knockouts and whatever happens. Who is below the radar for you that you're going to be keeping an eye on? So if the U.S. is successful outside of the big names, I'm looking at A, B, C, D, or E.
Yeah, if it's outside of guys like Balogun and Pulisic and even Tyler Adams to an extent, Anthony Robinson, and we've talked about him before and hopefully continue to talk about him is Alex Freeman. I just think he's the guy that's going to allow you to do certain things from the midfield forward because of what he can do in the retreat on defense. And so if he's getting the start, I just think he opens things up along the right wing because there's confidence in his ability. And it's kind of tough because I don't know to what extent he's going to be overly involved in the attack himself, but it's his performance that allows others to be confidently involved in the attack. And so, if I had to go outside of the expected realm, I think I will go with Alex Freeman. I just think he allows you to do things with some of the guys that are more dangerous up front with confidence, by taking chances, to an extent by gambling when you're involved in the press. And look, I know Germany won 2-1. I know they scored 3 minutes in. I thought the U.S. actually had a really nice half. That opening half, I thought they created chances. Obviously, scored the one goal, a number of corners, a number of close calls that looked like it could have developed into something. A long ball from Pulisic, I think, turned into Balogun, and the defender played him well, very well. But I thought you saw a really nice first half, and even though you picked up a loss compared to the win against Senegal, I thought you saw some nice things that certainly didn't crush your spirit going into the opener.
Yeah, and Mauricio Pochettino mentioned as much in post game, where he thought that it was fairly even outside of the moment that was there early on. He thought that the United States responded well to that, and then you get the absolute worldie to tie things up at 1, and it was. I don't think you can hit a ball any more pure than you did from 22 or 3. And you want to send a crowd into an absolute frenzy to get them back engaged in a game where after Kai Havertz scores, the building was silent. And for Soldier Field, a building of that size, to be silent, you had to get that happening early on. But then you get everybody back in with the one of the goals of the year, one of the best goals I think that we've seen from U.S. soccer of all time. But you get that kind of a moment, the crowd's back into it. And I think that from the goal after the U.S. gets kind of, back into it after all of the pomp, all the circumstance, all the pressure, the send-off, and all of the stuff at the beginning, I think they acquitted themselves well when they got into the rhythm of the match after giving up the early one.
Yeah, I thought, again, I just felt like they were the more dangerous team, the more attack-minded team once that goal had come. And look, I know you and I have talked, especially during Atlanta United games, we say goals change games, but a goal that early, I don't think necessarily changes it because there's not the panic level that you have if it's midway through the second half. Germany is not ceding possession up 1-0 4 minutes in. You know what I mean? Like they're still going to play out the game. It's just too early to abandon the plan coming in. And so I thought you got a fair look at the U.S. succeeding at times against Germany when Germany had their mind on what their goal was in that first half. And from there, I thought you got a fair read, which sometimes you don't always get in the second half when the goal has changed the game. And so I just thought they played very well. They obviously did get that crazy hit. It was interesting because it had the backspin that you see on risers at times, but it took so long off of Adams's boot to start rising. It was very interesting if you look at it in slow motion. And we're just coming off the College World Series. We're seeing a lot of Women's College World Series. We've been seeing a lot of rise balls, seeing a lot of backspin.
Yeah.
It just didn't jump vertically the way that most shots do. To the point where even when it did reach the goal line, it barely even touched the crossbar, just a slight little nick of the underside, but it just did not rise the way you thought it would from that distance with that much spin. So really, really interesting, the mechanics just from a slow-mo version from the background. I really liked watching that. But, yeah, I look, you're not going to count on those sorts of goals throughout. I think there were some chances here or there. Maybe you just didn't quite connect in the box, or obviously Germany's defenders were able to clear out across a time or two that maybe a different team doesn't have the physical stature back there. Maybe they can't get to. But again, I just like seeing the U.S. getting into dangerous territory at times. And I just think when you have the corners, the amount of corners that the U.S. has, as long as you don't screw them up and give away counterattacks like Atlanta United has done, I think you're in good situation to really threaten teams and get involved. And you never know what happens, fouls in the box, stuff like that. So, I just thought that after the goal early, it was a really nice last, again, what was it, 44 minutes, 43 minutes to that half.
Yep. And if you look at, say, attack momentum, then after the early goal, then it comes to the U.S. for most of the remainder of the first half. And then as Germany is chasing the second goal at the beginning of the second half, first half of the second half, basically quarter number 3 was theirs. And then the U.S., as they were chasing, obviously, in that final 20 minutes after all the changes and so on, they were in control. So it was a lot of back and forth and fairly even. Shots on goal, 4 apiece. Shots attempted, 16-12 by the U.S., 21 fouls. U.S. was 11 of those. And 2 saves listed to the keepers for the U.S., 3 for Baumann for Germany in the match. And so 53-47 when it comes to the possession. That's the word I'm looking for. Time of possession, 53.5, 46.5 in that one. So you look at this one, And now you can't sit here as we go. Yeah, they pretty much held in control of the match, but they lost 2-1. You can't have those kinds of talks anymore. It's like you've got to have control of the match and come out with a win or a draw on the other side. It can't be, yeah, well, they played great after, but the conjunctions have to go away now that you're going to be in the group stage for your next match coming up.
Yeah, you just have to clear away that first goal. And if you presume, like I do, that first goal didn't really change how Germany played the rest of the way, you sit there and say, you've got to avoid that first goal. And from there, if everything plays out the way it did, you could go into the half 1-0, blah, blah, blah. But at the same time, you can't just be like, well, you won't give that up when the games matter or when the goals matter. And quite frankly, I could care less about the performance if the result comes to whichever result is needed. So it all matters now. It all counts now. I have said this before, and I believe I will say it throughout the early match days of the World Cup. It is an extremely forgiving format because of the expanded size of the knockout stage, because of the expanded size of the tournament in general. It is, and I know they ran the numbers, and if you get 4 points, you're likely to go through. If you get 5, I mean, they're going to be teams that they suggested there may be a team that moves on with just 2 points.
Oh, wow.
Depending on how competitive some of the groups are and goal differential and all that. So it is a forgiving format. Now, obviously, the further down you go, the tougher the matchup is in the next stage. But just looking for what you feel you should do, and that is come out of your group on top. Mm-hmm. Face a third place team. Hopefully you get a fair draw on that, not a team that finished in third place that's probably the best in their group and just had a wonky result. And that's going to happen somewhere along the lines to someone. You just hope it's not the matchup for Group D, and then go from there. But it is a forgiving format. I think that probably benefits the U.S. as much as anyone, because as we talked about with Jason in our World Cup preview, I mean, you could argue that, again, the format's wonky, but if there were a group of death, you could argue based on world rankings that the U.S. is in it. And I think they've got the 4 teams with the highest world rankings, with the lowest group, at 40 or whatever it is. And then you talk about the U.S. as the highest ranked team at 16. I mean, the gap between the highest ranked team and the lowest ranked team is smaller than in any other group. And so if there were a group of death, arguably the U.S. is in it. So there you go.
All right. So what are your plans? Where are you going to be watching this first match? Are you going to be working? What's the deal?
Thursday I will be working. And so I will just be watching. Quite frankly, the first half I'll probably be watching while taking Chipper for a walk. I'll get home right before kickoff and then get her going. But I'll be watching from home. We've got a couple of remotes here and there. I'm not totally sure which ones are involving my show. So I think I'm only in the streets, as you want to say it, for the games that are in Atlanta. Other shows will be out there on other match days. But I just, with the exception of those games that kick off at midnight, which is going to be real tough for those 4 a.m. wake up and run 10-mile schedules. Looking forward to it, man. Like, it's just, of all the sporting events that I watch, and I watch all sorts of nonsense, the World Cup is probably the one, like, percentage-wise, I watch the most of. Like, there's going to be a real – I think I will, like, sacrifice certain games, like the 11 p.m. games on a given night, the midnight game here on a given night. I might have to sacrifice that and watch, like, a recap the next morning. But, like, you're talking about watching 3 games a day, sometimes 4 games a day, like, without fail, without miss. For me, it's pretty much only rivaled by, like, track and field at the Olympics. Although I will say this, the collegiate track and field championships also begin on Wednesday. Ooh. And so that's the multi-TV setup, like only I can do, where I'm watching soccer on one and track and field on the other. Normally people reserve it for other sports, but that's not how I roll.
Nope. USA and Paraguay around the corner on the 12th, 2100 hours. So if my math is correct, 9 Eastern from SoFi. And it's time to make sure that all of the batteries function when it comes to all of your devices. As always, my friend, it's always great to have you bat and lead off, but if you ever have anything that you need to vent during this World Cup time, do not just feel that you are just compelled to condense everything into 20 minutes on a Monday morning batting leadoff. If you wish to vent your spleen, just let us know and come in and sit there. Hey, doors open, brother. Come in and talk anytime you want.
You may see a rogue pop in here and there.
Oh, rogue pop in, please.
That's right.
Good to see you, my friend, and we will be seeing your rogue pop-ins as the tournament evolves.
You got next time we talk, US is going to have 3 points, so I'll be feeling good about it.
There you go. Hey, be good, and then bats leadoff and clean single. Actually, it's in the gap, so there goes Abe, and it's always cool to have Abe batting leadoff for us. All right, so now, what's on your mind? We got a lot to get into, so let's go back before we go forward, and to Abe's point, and I think this is the most things that I have ever loaded into any program, but this is kind of, I think, how this is going to be going for the morning show here. So let me count my elements here. 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20 elements loaded this morning that could be played under any auspice game manner, way, shape, or form. So let's go ahead. Since we were talking national team, let's go there first. And obviously, Kai Havertz scores. It's 1-0. We're going to have some fun with this one. Here's your equalizer. First off, courtesy of our friends at TNT and U.S. Soccer. Luke Weilman on the call.
Outswinger from Pulisic. Tar heads it away.
And it was a moment of absolute magic. So with that version being posted this morning, we're going to go the other way. And we're going to give you the opportunity to count. So when you hear how this goal is described, I believe this is an individual who is already in knockout, if not semifinals, finals form. Here's the call from Telemundo. Andres Cantor on the goal.
Mundial de la FIFA. Mañana los esperamos.
Va a cruzar Christian Pulisic. Al punto penal vino. ¡Robinson! Pero qué golazo de otra galaxia, Jedi. Empató el partido, el mejor gol de su carrera.
Totalmente, como prende la boleta.
All right, that's the Telemundo version. I got chills all over again. And I was counting just to make sure I had the math right. Andres Cantor went 23 seconds followed by a 16 or a 17. So in his call, and that was a tape of about 1:10, 40 seconds of that 70 was Andres Cantor saying one word twice. This is something that whenever we have the chance to catch up with him, I have to ask about his discipline, his breathing, his dynamic, all of that. How he has a hold note of 23 seconds followed by a 16 or 17 is insane. The condition that you have to hold yourself in to make that happen is nuts. A 23-second hold note. I mean, opera singers ain't got that hold note. Rock and rollers, I mean, Roger Daltrey with The Who, and he's screaming, during any of those songs, Rain O'er Me or anything like that. Any kind of a hold note you can think of from a rock and roller, Andres Cantor destroys them. A 23-second hold note followed by a 17-second hold note. That's what you ended up with on that goal by Jedi Robinson in the 37th to even things up at 1. Leroy Sané would score in the 57th, and that was 2-1. That was your final. But 23 plus 16 or 17 from Andres Cantor, that is rare form, and that was a friendly leaning into the tournament. All hands on deck for that. So speaking of, 2-1 loss at Soldier Field. And if you missed any of Maddie's sound from the mix zone from Atlanta Soccer tonight, you can go back and take a peek at it. Give a listen to Jason and his analysis of it from last night. We'll go back and let you listen to Jason's thoughts from AST about the keeping situation. We'll get into that here as we're in the U.S. men's soccer block. So let's catch up with Mauricio Pochettino after the match, courtesy of our friends once again at U.S. Soccer and Veritone. He talks about the lessons from the match. And I'm trying to type a font in quickly. And, of course, I misspelled Pochettino. It's 2 T's and 1 C. So, once again, courtesy of our friends at U.S. Soccer and Veritone, here is Mauricio Pochettino after the match discussing the lessons learned and everything that will be taken forward. Once again, let's start you right here with Mauricio Pochettino.
We were demanding a lot to the player in the last 2 weeks. I seen overload the player and the team because the preparation is now and pay attention on the game, but also pay attention is to arrive to Paraguay in the best condition. Now is to adjust, the load and be intelligent in the way that we are going to arrive to Paraguay in the best condition, fresh, with energy. And of course, when you start the competition, it's completely different. The -1, the -2, the preparation is already, you need to think into extend the time, the game time of the player.
So that's the first element of this from lessons learned by Mauricio Pochettino and the men's national team heading into the World Cup. Here is the second go-round of that particular topic, once again, courtesy of our friends at U.S. Soccer and Veritone.
We were demanding a lot to the...
Unless, of course, I played the same soundbite twice and downloaded the same thing. So good job, John. Way to go. Hang on just a second. Let me see if I did, in fact, load the same thing. I thought that I
was thinking...
Oh, here we go. Okay, so you played the second one first. You just hit the wrong order. Okay, so here's Mauricio Pochettino once again about lessons learned.
I was thinking that we were lucky because to face a situation, concede a goal against a team that how is German with the top players, was an amazing challenge for us to see how we react, how we show character, how we show togetherness, how we start to play under pressure. In that moment, I was sad, I was upset, of course. But after that, it's a change. Okay, I think it's lucky because I think it's good for us to see the reaction of the team. The reaction was amazing, was really positive, and that's why it's good. That some things not so good happen, to see the reaction and to create that atmosphere that we can deal with this type of situation that we can find in the future and during the competition in the World Cup.
Now, the reason that I asked Abe about the goalie situation was because that topic came up last night on Atlanta Soccer Tonight. And just to let you know about programming when it comes to AST this week, we'll do it on a daily basis, and it also gives us an opportunity to sit there and break down moments from the night before, get you ready for tonight, and just have you on information overload heading into Atlanta Soccer Tonight. 10 o'clock tonight, 92.9 The Game, the Odyssey app, 92.9 YouTube channel, hour number 1. Then you end up with stoppage time exclusively on the YouTube channel. So it is a three-dimensional experience for Atlanta Soccer Tonight, which is nightly across the 92.9 The Game and Odyssey platforms. Soccer Down Here AM, SDH AM, will go daily starting this week. So we will have weekend editions of SDH AM, 9:05 Saturday and Sunday through the tournament. Might be a power hour. At the very least, it's going to be a power hour. Might be longer. We'll see. Just depends on information and what we need to let everybody know about heading into that particular match day. But Atlanta Soccer Tonight, nightly, three-dimensional experience, 92.9 The Game in the Odyssey app, starting most of the time, 10 o'clock. Was at 9 o'clock last night on your Sunday. Starting at 10 o'clock to 11, 92.9 The Game, Odyssey app. Then it's on the YouTube channel the entire time. SDH AM goes 7 days a week in the tournament starting this week. Saturday, Sunday, 9:05 in the morning. But the reason I asked Abe about the keeper situation was because Jason addressed it last night on AST. So as our AST flashback, here is Jason discussing what he thinks is going down with the keeper situation heading into match day 1 here at the end of the week.
I don't think there's very many goalkeepers in the world who are going to be brave enough in that moment to come off their line on a ball that's served up that well and get there and make the play. I think Freeze gambled that he could stay back and react. Kai Havertz with a perfect header. The service was even better from Joshua Kimmich. And that's why the ball ends up in the back of the net. The marking where Havertz gets away from Miles Robinson, that's the issue. Do you wish that your goalkeeper could have not just come off his line there? Because this is the nitpicking that I get frustrated with, especially when we talk about goalkeepers. Do I wish that he could have come off his line and made the play? Absolutely, because then you somehow prevent that goal. But when we get hung up on the just coming off the line part, there's no guarantee that he gets there. I don't think he does, because I think the service is too good from Kimmich. I don't think he gets to it. There's just, I really don't think there's any way. And the distance of the free kick, he couldn't cheat on it and gamble too early, because then you leave the goal wide open. I don't think it's on Matt Freeze at all. I don't know who starts on Friday night in goal for the U.S., though. I think Matt Freeze has done enough to keep the #1 spot, but does he have the #1 spot? I don't know. And Mauricio Pochettino hasn't talked about it. He's not going to answer it unless he's asked directly, and he still might not answer it. He might find a way out of it, but I don't believe he's been asked about it. He hasn't brought it up willingly. We go back to the March window where we saw Matt Turner start game 1 and Matt Freeze start game 2. In this window, Matt Turner started game 1. Now, Chris Brady played in the second half of game 1 because he hadn't played for the national team yet. And you don't want a third goalkeeper who, if crazy things happen, you got to turn to. You don't want his debut to be in a World Cup. So he got minutes. All right. Freeze played the whole 90 here. Does that make him the #1? I think he is the #1. And I think he should hold on to that spot. I'm not 100% sure that he is the actual #1. Matt Turner does have the World Cup experience. We will find out. I think your biggest questions for the U.S. are goalkeeper, more importantly, center back with Chris Richards, and we'll be talking about his health all week long.
Not wrong. So that's what you get from Atlanta Soccer Tonight every night. That's what you got from AST last night. And so, once again, reminder, 10 o'clock tonight, 92.9 The Game, the Odyssey app, and the 92.9 YouTube channel. Jason takes you through Atlanta soccer tonight, 10 to 11. 11 o'clock, it is rolling exclusively over to the YouTube channel for stoppage time and the chaos now that we are in World Cup match week. So we'll let you know how things continue to progress from there. All right, so since we are in the World Cup date section, we'll go through all the World Cup stuff that is leading into match week coming up here before you know it. Then we'll get into the women's national team. Match number 1 in Brazil, a learning experience. We'll hear from Emma Hayes and some of the players that were there for match number 1 in Belo Horizonte on the weekend as they get ready once again. 11:30 this morning is the MD-1 for the national team in Brazil as they get ready for their second go-round in Brazil, which means that Bart is going to be joining us on Wednesday. And he will give the post-mortem on the 2 matches from his perspective. And Dylan Butler should be joining us also there in the 10 o'clock hour number 2. We'll break down the week here in just a little bit also. So let's get into the other news. And obviously some of the larger news yesterday had to do with Christian Eriksen. We got an update this morning on Christian Eriksen after he collapsed with 25 minutes to go in the Denmark match on the weekend. From Leon Ember at the Athletic, Denmark team doctor Morten Boesen said Christian Eriksen is, quote, doing well and is expected to be discharged from the hospital, quote, soon, end quote, after collapsing on the pitch during Sunday's friendly against Ukraine. Fixture abandoned after he collapsed in the 65th minute at Odense Stadion, Denmark, after appearing to hold his chest. Plays for Wolfsburg in Germany. Walked to a waiting ambulance, which took him to the hospital for further tests. An update from Boesen on Denmark's official social media account shared by Eriksen earlier today. Quote, I spoke with Christian this morning and he's doing well. He's with his family and in good spirits. Expectation is he'll be discharged soon and can return home. We're taking good care of the players and staff and remain in regular contact with them. Was fitted with a heart starter known as an implantable cardioverter defibrillator, an ICD. Basically, it's like a pacemaker, small device that regulates abnormal heart rhythms. And that's the difference between a pacemaker and an ICD. After suffering the cardiac arrest with Denmark and Finland in the Euros in 2021, Denmark was leading. Eriksen collapses. Medical staff from both teams attended to him within seconds. Obviously, the game did not continue. Boesen told reporters after Sunday's incident the pacemaker responded as it should and that Eriksen was, quote, briefly unconscious but regained consciousness very quickly, walked off the pitch by himself. And 34 appearances for Wolfsburg in all comps last season, 151st appearance for Denmark, making his international debut back in 2010. And so it was a friendly for Denmark with Ukraine. And obviously we're keeping our eye on Christian Eriksen and obviously sending all of our love his way. And we'll follow that situation as we go. Now, Canada officially arrived back home. They arrived in Toronto for their getting ready for the tournament, and they arrived yesterday at the Island Airport in Toronto. So you land on the island, everybody disembarks, and then you get the big beauty shot, and that's where you have your press opportunity is there at the Island Airport itself. Matthew Cianidi and TSN caught up with Jesse Marsh as a part of all of the gathering that was there. And so here's part of the conversation that Matthew had with Coach Marsh as they deplaned, and they were having the Q&A section from the Toronto Island Airport, and this one was yesterday.
No, he's here. So, he's still going through a lot of little recovery issues to see if he can get himself to 100%, but we're giving him until the very last day very last minute to give himself the best opportunity, and he still feels adamantly that he can prepare himself and get ready to go for the tournament.
And if not, when will you push your final decision, not only who might replace him, but who's going to replace Marcelo?
Yeah, we're going to make an announcement on the Marcelo replacement soon. And then, we have until June 11th, up until 24 hours before the match, to name our replacement players. So we'll be evaluating. We still have Nelson, Prizo, and Basong with us. So, we'll be ready if we need to make a pivot, that we'll be ready to do so.
You've spent so much time.
Well, the message hasn't just been the same over the last few years. We've developed something here that's taken time, and I think it's grown as we've gone. We've been a very difficult team to play against since the first day I've been here. I think we play very dynamic football, and for sure what we want to do is represent everything that we believe our team is about, our country is about, and make sure that this team plays with confidence and aggression and goes after opponents. So we're really excited.
Jesse, this team is about to see, the country's going to see this team in a whole different way over the next days and weeks, and I imagine as long as you can keep them in the tournament. What is your message to the country now, and how have you prepared? You talked about calmness a lot. How have you prepared them for the biggest tournament of them all?
Yeah, I think that this is a team that the country will be proud of because we're front foot, we're aggressive, we go after opponents, we don't sit back, and we're going to do that again in this tournament. And look, the team is prepared. They understand. Obviously, they've never played in a home World Cup. I've never coached in a home World Cup, but I think based on the environments that we played in the last week, the experience we had being in the country and seeing how passionate our fans are for this team, we're really locked in, focused, ready to play, ready to be at our best. So, we have a lot of guys that I think are real people, like real, and don't get caught up in hype, don't get caught up in egoism. They really focus on being the best that they can be at all times, and we're going to show that in this tournament.
Jesse Marsh with Matthew Cianetti, and they're getting about as ready as you can get, being one of the hosts, getting ready for their matchup with Bosnia-Herzegovina. That is in Toronto at what will be known as BMO Stadium or BMO Field until Wednesday when people start wandering in. So the host, Canada, will be playing at Toronto Stadium. Capacity expanded to over 40,000. Some of you who will be in the top seats in the end zone are going to have to be looking through a metal girder to try and see what's going on the far side, attacking third or defending third, depending on your perspective. So Canada getting ready, and they've got some questions that they have to answer themselves. Flores and or Bombito, and you heard that Jesse Marsh and the physio staff, they're going to give Bombito as much time as humanly possible, and they're going to go all the way up to the deadline. There had been reports yesterday that Bombito was not going to be continuing as a part of the roster, but even if that is in fact the case, and that is the eventuality, if I'm Jesse Marsh, I am not going to sit here and tell folks, yeah, he's not going to be a part of things, because then you don't have to plan for him as a part of that back line. Obviously, you look at the 20-year-old Luc de Fougerel, and he might be getting the start, might be the lineup that was against Ireland. That seems to be the prevailing wisdom, is that will be your starting lineup in the first match for Canada as they go up against Bosnia and Herzegovina. So obviously, keep an eye on Canada and find out what it's going to be looking like for them. They have two questions. The U.S. has, one question when it comes to their starting 11, and it is a big question. Group B, Canada, Bosnia and Herzegovina, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, Toronto Stadium, and that one is going to be on Friday as well. Just so you remember the grid, it's 2 matches on Thursday. Mexico gets to start at home against South Africa at the Azteca, that will be formerly known as the Azteca, starting on Thursday, followed by Korea and Czechia. That one is at 10 o'clock p.m. from Guadalajara. And then you get the matchups on Friday with Bosnia-Herzegovina and Canada. That one is at 3 o'clock on Friday afternoon. And then you have the United States kicking off at 9 o'clock Eastern time at SoFi, which will be known as Los Angeles Stadium going forward until it's SoFi until probably Thursday when folks start appearing for the MD-1s. So USA and Paraguay, still no word on Julio Enciso. Word is that it's 2 to 3 weeks. And we'll see on that, and we'll obviously keep an eye. And it's once again, the Enciso injury made me kind of look for my old Latin my old Latin explainers, and it will be trying to figure out the muscles in and of themselves. And he's going under daily evaluations by the staff of the Albiroja, and that is a contusion and not a fibrillar tear, a basic fibrillar, a tear based on fiber, I guess, the fibers in the muscle. So it is a muscle contusion and not a tear of the muscle fibers, as they train in San Jose once again, day to day, waiting for his progress to get ready for his debut. Trained separately and withdrew from the match against Nicaragua. So, and you get the same video that's posted. It was allegedly a 12 millimeter tear. And so now it is a contusion that doesn't amount to the tear that was initially thought would keep him out of the first match against the United States. And so that is the conventional reporting right now. So not removed from the squad, traveled to San Jose, practiced on his own on the side, and so muscle contusion and not a tear. So that's what they're looking at for Enciso. That is your Enciso update as we have it right now, heading into the tournament in and of itself. Okay, so let's get into some of the action from the weekend. And I'm doing this as kind of a tease because tomorrow it is the MESEC. The MESEC continues tomorrow, where you have the Argentine national team going to Jordan-Hare Stadium at Auburn, and they're going to be taking on Iceland at 8:30 tomorrow night, and I believe this one is also on ESPN Deportes. I think that if I remember Fernando Palomo's conversation correctly, ESPN Deportes got the Road to 26 package, and so they're showing all of the matches. They showed the one at Kyle Field. They're going to be showing the one at Jordan-Hare. I will be there covering the match, and obviously we'll have social media and we'll have written after the fact just to kind of give you the vibe. Going into the weekend, there were 5,000 tickets available. Jordan-Hare seats 87, so that means 82 were sold. They had 91,000 at Kyle Field, not quite the 102 that they were looking for, but they had 91,000 in the building to see Argentina and Honduras. 2-0 win for Argentina in front of 91,000 folks. And so here is goal number 2 after goal number 1 was a PK from the spot. So here is the second goal that put the match at Kyle Field out of reach. Fernando Palomo on the call for ESPN Deportes.
Como campeona del mundo. Ojo con esto de Lautaro. Lautaro, el taco que va y viene. Está Simeone. ¡Gol! ¡Gol! Argentina Football Club. Simeone Giuliano lo hace. Argentina 2. Honduras 0.
El ingreso de De Paul le garantizaba a Argentina un poco más de profundidad sobre la banda derecha y es una muy buena jugada con el pase hacia adelante en el movimiento hacia afuera de Lautaro. El pase había sido de Lo Celso desde atrás a toda marcha. Giuliano con un gol que le va a venir muy bien para ganar tranquilidad, se la coloca al costadito a Mengíbar.
ESPN Deportes on the call. Argentina shuts out Honduras. And like I said, it was a bit of a homecoming for Fernando Palomo, who did play-by-play there. And he went to Texas A&M, and he now has kids at Texas A&M. So it was a homecoming for him. But tomorrow night, Auburn, more than 80,000 are ticketed so far. 82,000 ticketed heading into the weekend. So they're going to be close to 87. It wouldn't surprise me with walk-up that you get the 87. No word, obviously, on whether Lionel Messi will play, but we'll have all of the reports on the rundown for you and the vibe and all the energy. We'll have that for you. Keep an eye out on socials, and we will have that for you Tuesday evening and then again on Wednesday, and we'll have highlights and such on Wednesday morning show as well. So it is hour number 2, and that flew by. That's not a surprise. Just to kind of give you an idea, reminder, SOT is going on hiatus for the World Cup, but we still will have picks of the week in the Discord. I need to know what the rundown is of. I need to know who the winner is in the Apertura, and so we will. I will get that information. It will be posted, and then the Medio, which is specifically a World Cup based picks of the week tournament, is going on inside the Discord. If you want to be in the Discord and have not been in the Discord yet, where all of our Twitch pitchers and plus ones and A-listers, they all kind of get together and have a bunch of different topics to discuss. I think I've still been banned from the Discord short of posting the picks of the week every week. So if you're not in the Discord and you want to join, let some of the folks know that are here, and hopefully they can guide you into being a part of the Discord. So the Medio tournament starts this week, and it's going to be all World Cup-y stuff. So winner of the Apertura, winner of the Medio, and the winner of the Clausura. Once the tournament is over, then we'll pick back up with all of the other activity that's there, and then we'll have that to MLS Cup. MLS Cup will be its own particular pick of the week that week, but that will close out the sorry, let me get that. Let me rewind that just a second. The Clausura goes up to MLS Cup. So Apertura, winner of the Apertura. We have the winner of the Medio, which is just World Cup competition. Then the Clausura picks up after the World Cup is over. So July 20th. So from July 20 all the way through up until MLS Cup, that is the Clausura. The Campeón de Campeones is MLS Cup. And so then it will be whoever wins the Campeón de Campeones, you'll have the 3 champs, the winner of the Apertura, the Medio, and the Clausura going up against each other in MLS Cup. That's the Campeón de Campeones. And so that will be the end of the season. You'll get a high and hearty handshake, and we'll think of something. But the winners of the 3 segments, Apertura, Medio, and Clausura, will go up against each other in MLS Cup, Campeón de Campeones. And then we will, we'll suspend picks of the week for the holidays, and we'll pick it back up in the sprint season, and then we'll roll forward from there. So that's 26 and 27 for you when it comes to all of the tournaments and such. Just to give you an idea about the rest of the week before we go into hour number 2, where we have stuff to discuss involving the women's national team and their time in Brazil. We've got to get into the twos. We've got to get you into news of the day and get you ready for stuff that you might have missed, and getting you ready for Atlanta soccer tonight from 10 to midnight. Now, tomorrow, and this is going to be cool, 9:15, I don't know if you've seen the Marta merch yet. Marta has come out with a new line of merch. At 9:15, batting leadoff, the designer of that Marta merch is going to be on with us. We're going to go through the whole process. I've heard that he might be actually wearing some of the gear, and they're going to put me in the poorhouse. So the Marta merch will be showcased at 9:15. KCD is back amongst the living, burying the lead about the last month, where she went to Chicago, and I think she and Maddie were at Wrigley Field at the same time, although they didn't know that they were there at the same time. She coached the U.S. team in TST, didn't tell us that at all. And then she had NWSL and MLS duties. So we're going to recap the last month with KCD at 10 o'clock. And then our friend Karn Saxena is going to be joining us at 10:30 to give us an update on his on the travel app and all of the things that are going on with it. If you need some extra assistance when it comes to travel apps, Morningdale, and assistance going from venue to venue, Karn Saxena is going to be joining us at 10:30 to break down all of that. And then once again, I go to Auburn. I'll be at Auburn for the Road to 26, Argentina and Iceland. We'll have reports on social and such. And then we'll have a game report after the fact. We'll talk about it Wednesday morning. Bart's going to join us Wednesday morning because also Tuesday night is match number 2 for the women's national team in Brazil. And like I said, we'll talk about match number 1 coming up after hour 2's opening kickoff because there are some open kickoff-y things that we need to discuss. Then Bart and Dylan are on, Discord, Dell. Discord or here. Dell says he's got some Atlanta tickets he's trying to sell. So Discord. I would go Discord, and then I would continue to let us know here. So Dylan and Bart are going to be with us on Wednesday, and this is obviously outside of any guests that may parachute in and sit there and have things to say. Power Hour on Thursday with Nino and Nico because that's match day 1. That is match day 1, and I got my tapings wrong with Georgia Public, so you'll be hearing me on GPB discussing everything soccer during the tournament as well. And then try to catch up with our friends from Apple TV and our friends from Beyond Goals Mentoring on Friday. But right now, that's our list of pundits and experts. But tomorrow, it is going to be looking at the Marta merch line. Find out about that. That's going to be at 9:15. KCD is going to return at 10 o'clock. Karn Saxena is going to join us at 10:30 to discuss everything going on with travel and the travel app. Now, a couple of opening kickoff-y things since Abe went ahead and just jumped and joined with us. I don't know if you've seen this particular story, and it popped up this morning, and it kind of showcases the dangers of the betting industry in and of itself. And this comes from our friend Tanay Jaipuria, and it appears that, and I think this is from our friends at The Athletic also. So let me see if I can find the true source of this. Let's see. All right. So okay. So I'm trying to find the actual stories here. So Mundo Deportivo. We'll go with Mundo Deportivo's version here. Yes, aceptar and continuar. Now, according to the U.S. economic website Semaphore, Osasuna, and this is translated, so bear with me. Osasuna would have paid 1.2 million euros for a policy with the Howden brokerage that would have allowed them to receive 6 million euro in the case of relegation to the Segunda. The Navarrese club explains that this is the operation of a relegation insurance policy taken out in the final stretch of the season to protect themselves from the economic impact of losing the idea of being in the top flight in Spain. So Begoña Villarrubia, with the story at Mundo Deportivo, toward the end of last season, multi-million euro transaction during the final match day of the league related to the Kalshi prediction market platform regulated here in the U.S. Osasuna reportedly paid 1.2 million euro for a policy with the brokerage firm Howden, which would have allowed them to receive 6 million in the event of relegation. Publication adds a key element to identify Osasuna. The team involved secured their place in the league on the final match day after a narrow 1-0 defeat, a result that prevented relegation to the Segunda, therefore it can only be. However, the interpretation from within the Navarrese club is very different. According to sources close to the club, it's not a sports bet, but rather a common hedging mechanism in the industry, relegation insurance taken out in the final stretch of the season to protect against financial impact of being relegated. Valued at around 1.2, in the event of relegation, it would have triggered the significantly higher compensation payment. Club emphasizes these types of financial instruments are common practices in modern professional football. I didn't know that. Designed to reduce the impact of adverse sporting scenarios and provide economic stability to the entities. Furthermore, it emphasized the operation was reported to the economic control bodies and will be reflected in the corresponding accounts without any internal concern after reviewing the information and its context. So, did Osasuna bet against itself? Mundo Deportivo is saying that Osasuna is registering it as insurance, as an insurance policy against relegation. So that is that is their perspective on this, and obviously we'll have to keep an eye on. Let me see if Osasuna, trying to type with my right hand is not the swiftest thing in the world. By the way, Florentino Perez reelected to Real Madrid president after the first member vote in 20 years. So odds are that he will end up also being, he will also be bringing in Jose Mourinho to the tune of 15 million euro in compensation back to Benfica just so he can wander in the door. So as turning to Calci, $1 million bet against itself. Squeaked by losing final game of the year. And so the Spanish, on the other side of the Spanish team's trade was Susquehanna, according to people familiar with the matter, which says it was the first quant trading firm to establish a dedicated prediction markets trading desk. Susquehanna did not respond to requests for comment. People familiar with the trade said the firm took home more than $1 million. So keep an eye on Osasuna and what might have gone down here. Once again, paid by Osasuna. Would have paid him 6 if they'd been relegated, according to Diario de Nevada. That's a part of this also. So keep an eye on Osasuna with their relationship. And Osasuna had a statement released, clarification on the contracting of relegation coverage. And so it was, yes, permitting the, all right. So this is from the club itself. And they mention the compensation, the securing the 1.2 million euro policy guaranteeing compensation of 6. Purchased through Howden, internationally renowned insurance company. Documents issued by Howden and La Liga, which accompany the statement, confirm such policies are routinely used by clubs and sports organizations to protect against financial contingencies related to their activity. La Liga was aware of Osasuna's purchase of the policy as it was consulted during the process. Also reported to the chairman of the club's control commission, included in a report that the commission plans to issue in the coming days about this and other current matters. Club auditors also informed Osasuna's involvement in this matter strictly limited to purchasing coverage from Howden to partially offset the economic impact of a potential relegation. Club reserves the right to take any actions necessary to defend its interests and reputation. So that is translated the release that Osasuna came out with this morning, and then links to certificates from La Liga and Howden Iberica regarding the operation itself. So keep an eye on Osasuna and going forward. I don't know if folks are taking too kindly to this, because this is the first time I've heard about any kind of an insurance policy that has lent itself to protecting yourself against relegation. So we'll see what happens there. Also this morning, I don't know if you saw this, but Switzerland's training camp might take the cake, at least on a Monday anyway, when it comes to location and danger attached. So they are practicing at the San Diego Jewish Academy. And it is a field that was carved into the foothills in San Diego. And so then this is, of course, from the 3-letter paper when and how this will be worded. So we will we'll break it down like this. They are practicing, they're working out at the San Diego Jewish Academy. And if any one of the 2 separate sections that are going to be home to activity outdoors for Switzerland, if a ball goes away from the 2 fields, there has been a release, for lack of a better word, that has, okay, here's the playing surface. Here's the snake area. And literally the snake area surrounds both practice fields. It literally surrounds both practice fields. And the second that you go away from the practice surface at the academy, it is listed as a snake area. So I guess the lesson here is don't kick the ball out of play, especially if you are in the end zone in the keeper field. Don't kick the ball out of play. Don't do it. And so I'm trying to get the designation correct, but there are. So Fox 5 in San Diego. So here's the story by Anna Ashcraft. So San Diego, and this is wording by KUSI. No stranger to rattlesnakes, but Switzerland doesn't have them in the wild at all. And so the rendering on the team's Instagram of their training facility at the San Diego Jewish Academy shows the goalkeeper area, training pitch, dressing area, gym area, and the snake area, in quotation marks, in surrounding canyon and brush. Rattlesnakes are common in San Diego County, says mostly found in rural or canyon areas. When the weather warms up, Switzerland doesn't have wild rattlesnakes. The country does have vipers. So you have Switzerland getting ready for their matchup in Santa Clara on the 13th. And they were at the Murph Dragon this past weekend. But just remember, if you're at the San Diego Jewish Academy, there's the possibility that if you kick the ball out of play, you could end up with snakes harassing practice. So don't kick the ball out of play. That's opening kickoff, brought to us by our friends at Black Pitch Coffee and blackpitchcoffee.com. Starting your day with the most important stories in the game and the right way to start your morning. Black Pitch Coffee, part of the SDH community, showing up at events all over Atlanta. Try their home blend made with beans from Brazil and Guatemala. Heavy body, notes of walnut and semi-sweet chocolate, and a rich world-class finish. Opening kickoff, powered by Black Pitch Coffee and blackpitchcoffee.com. Women's team. They are in the middle of their two-game set in Brazil. Played in Belo Horizonte over the weekend. Had this moment to lead things off. Courtesy, once again, of TNT and U.S. Soccer. Off to a great start in Brazil.
As Emma Hayes has called in a pretty full-strength lineup for this one, at least for the players that are healthy. And how about this take back? Sophia Wilson. Wilson has a goal! Wilson puts the United States ahead 1-0. Her first goal since her return to the United States. Since giving birth last year, Wilson has stunned the crowd.
The crowd can't believe it, and neither can Brazil. Just kind of a cheap giveaway, and look at the numbers, able to create an overload, and then Sophia Wilson doesn't even have to beat her defender. She has enough space. She's that clinical. She has scored most of her goals, if not all, with her left foot in the NWSL, and she does it again. Great finish right into the corner.
So that's the goal. 1-0 lead, but it would eventually get into, it would be a 2-1 loss for the women's national team in Brazil. And 30,000 in attendance at Belo Horizonte. $327,000 in the gate. So a really cool, and the fact that the CBF actually put that number out, very, very cool that they were able to come up with that number. 30,000 in the barn, 327,000 in gate receipts. But as we have been discussing leading up to this match and this two-game road trip in Brazil, there's a reason that this was done. 90% of the matches, traditionally for the women's national team, are at home. Emma Hayes, head coach of the women's national team, wanted them to feel what it's like to be uncomfortable. Here's part of her discussion about that after the match, U.S. Soccer and Baritone.
I don't want to focus on things I cannot control. Did I see a lot of players slipping? Yeah, I did. But for me, I'm not going to focus on that because I cannot control that. I think when it comes for the atmosphere, it was an amazing atmosphere, and it's one that, as much as I can prepare my team for this, you don't really know until you experience it. And I am sure for many of my players, this is the first time they've ever experienced an intensity from the crowd. But the reality is, you know, we start the game, we score a goal. I think when you play in these situations, especially the early part of the game, you have to compete and stay in the game. And I think Brazil took their chances really, really well in the early part, and they made it very, very difficult for us. And that's a great learning for my team, and the atmosphere for sure contributed to that.
And there were comments made by the media observing the match about the surface and how slippery it was. But part of the learning experience, in addition to learning to be in that hostile environment that they're going to be in tomorrow night as well, was Brazil and their style of play. Here's Emma Hayes addressing that and all of the duels on the night.
I mean, the crowd I loved. Like for me, this is elite, and I'm sure it'll be even louder at a World Cup. So this is why we are here, to experience that. But I think when you play Brazil, you have to accept that it's a game of duels. That is the game. And whether it's first contact, whether it's second contact, this is the game. So you don't have control necessarily like you do against different types of opponent. And I think Brazil were the best team in the world at doing this part of their game. But I think we did a better job second half. I think that is where we dominated in the duels, and I think we created enough chances second half to get an equaliser. But you still have to have the quality in the last part of the pitch. You have to make the right decisions at the right time. And the difference between the two teams is Brazil took their chances and we didn't take ours. And so, but it's exactly what I expected. Both of us are top teams. I don't think, we're both playing in the Olympic gold medal final. Like, it's going to be very close between us. And so it was a fun game. But also at the top level, it's about details. And I am so happy for the experience, because if we want things to be easy, we stay home and we play in LA or somewhere else, but we don't choose easy.
Don't choose easy. Emma Hayes does not want to have easy chosen as an option. Now we're going to hear from Lindsay Heaps, Tierna Davidson, and Sophia Wilson. And the questions obviously having to do with the environment, playing in this environment. First off, here is Lindsay Heaps in the mix zone after the match. Once again, courtesy of our friends at US Soccer and Veritone. Once again, Lindsay Heaps after the match, and she was asked about, where is it? Where's Lindsay Heaps? Come on. There it is. Here's Lindsay Heaps after the match about the environment down in Brazil.
Just that. No, I think, one, it's the chaos that this Brazilian team brings. I think the physicality and how they make the game out, but also the atmosphere that we just played in. I think what an incredible experience, you know, a year out from, a little more than a year out from the World Cup. This is what you're going to experience, and having fans against you like that, the whistling, the not being able to hear anything. But at the end of the day, I think you look at the game as a whole. Second half, we came out and we created opportunities. We could have scored. I think there were parts of the first half, maybe the first 15 minutes, it took us a little bit to grow into the game, but I think that's getting used to this and having all of these players that maybe haven't experienced this as well get that kind of experience. So it's great because we have a second chance. We have a second game here, and what better opportunity to go play Brazil twice in their home country.
Lindsay Heaps after the 2-1 loss in the first of the two matches in Brazil, as we mentioned today, the MD-1. It's in about an hour and 5 minutes. Emma Hayes and a couple of players are going to be available for the U.S. as they get ready for the matchup tomorrow night. Tierna Davidson next up on the list. And once again, Tierna Davidson was asked about what it's like to play in that particular environment. So here's Tierna Davidson's thoughts about being on the road and facing what you faced with 30,000 folks.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that we knew putting ourselves in this sort of environment was going to be a huge challenge, and I think that's the main reason that we've come here, is to have those challenging games, is to have, you know, an opposition crowd, to be able to try to, you know, play and make decisions when we've kind of got, you know, I don't know how many people were here, but 30,000 people against us. We want to feel that because, you know, going into, you know, hopefully a World Cup next summer, we need to have those moments. We need to have those moments of chaos where we can't hear each other and we need to figure out how to communicate. So, you know, not every test that we set ourselves up for is going to be successful, but I think there's a lot to learn from this game for sure.
Tierna Davidson, and now it's time to hear from Sophia Wilson, once again getting the goal. Obviously, the result is the most important part of this, and players obviously disappointed losing 2-1. Sophia Wilson scores for the first time now that she is back a part of Triple Espresso in the lineup. But here's Sophia Wilson, once again, courtesy of our friends at US Soccer and Veritone, after the match, discussing her goal and what it was like out on the pitch. Well, actually, first and foremost, we did the goal. So here's Sophia Wilson discussing the evening on the whole, the goal, and the environment.
How did it feel to get that goal back, your first one under your belt since coming back to the team?
Yeah, it always feels good to score on this team and contribute in any way that I can. I think obviously once that goal happened, we needed to do a bit of a better job of, you know, controlling the game and keeping that lead, but this is a really good test for us, and we felt what it's like to play here in their home country, and I think we just take what we need to from this game, and the nice part is we get to go again in a few days.
It seemed like in the second half things started to click a little bit more offensively. What do you think changed? Maybe something Emma told you guys at halftime that kind of changed the way you were playing in the second half?
I think we just tried to maintain a level of calmness in this environment, and we were winning first and second balls and creating more chances, I think, in the second half, and it's just about now putting it away.
Matchup in Fortaleza coming up after what happened at Neoquímica. They're going to the Arena Castelao, 8:30 tomorrow night, and that will be on TNT Max, Peacock, Westwood One. So Arena Castelao is going to be hosting matches in the World Cup in 27, as Neoquímica is as well. And once again, you get the experience right now second in the World Cup rankings. In the world rankings, the United States, Brazil is sixth. And these are the first two away matches for the United States since November of 2024. So that is a year and a half that the U.S. has been playing matches at home, and now they go to Brazil, lose 2-1, and now they have the chance in Fortaleza tomorrow night to finish up the road trip with a win and a loss and split this two-match road trip for the United States. Keepers, Jane Campbell, Claudia Dickey, Mandy McGlynn. Defenders, Tierna Davidson, whom you heard just a second ago. Emily Fox, Avery Patterson, Lily Real, Tara Rudd, Emily Sonnet, Giselle Thompson, Kennedy Wesley. Midfielders, Croy Bethune, Lindsay Heaps, Claire Hutton, Riley Jackson, Rose Lavelle, Olivia Moultrie, Jaden Shaw, Lily Johannes. Forwards, Michelle Cooper, Trinity Rodman, Emma Sears, Allie Sentner, Mallory Swanson, Alyssa Thompson, and Sophia Wilson. So that is the rundown as you get ready for the matchup at the Arena Castelao tomorrow night. So that's your look at the women's national team, as they are as busy right now as you can be in this window. And now, once you're just trying to learn from these experiences. Emma Hayes addressed it just a bit ago, as we heard. That's what you wanted to do. You want to be uncomfortable. You want to learn how to be uncomfortable, and you want to learn what it's going to be like in this hostile environment that is going to be there for the women's national team. So let's take you through the news as we know it. Then gossip, rumor, and innuendo. What to watch, where to watch it, how to watch it. You do still have a couple of friendlies today to get into. And also, we'll get into the twos. Big weekend for them as well. big win Saturday night against Chicago Fire FC2. We got your goals, got your post, and we'll have that for you here in just a bit. But it was a big weekend for the city of Chattanooga as they had the open practice for I think it was 27,000 I think applied for the idea of wanting to go see this practice, and I think they only allowed 500 in. I think that was the number. So no surprise that you would have all of this interest having to do with this open door practice at the Baylor School. So Spain, they got to keep an eye on Lamine Yamal, Nico Williams. Morocco loses 2 starters in their final warm-up. Brazil, once again, Wesley is out for the tournament, and they're having to figure out how to address that. And so Lamine Yamal, Nico Williams, Cabo Verde, June 15th, and they should be available, is according to Luis de la Fuente. But much like Mauricio Pochettino and Jesse Marsh, as we have heard, in the last weekend today, when it comes to Jesse Marsh and Bombito, you're gonna say, even if it is listed that every opportunity is going to be made available. Until then, we have up until this date to make this decision. Word out of Canada and Canadian media is that Bombito is going to be replaced, but you don't want to give the opposition, in Canada's case, Bosnia and Herzegovina, and in Spain's case, Cabo Verde, you don't want to give them anything for a double negative setting up here. You don't want to give them anything that they don't have to prepare for. Wow, my mom's going to get mad on that one. So you want to have your opponent prepare for everything. So you're not going to give updates on Bombito. You're going to have to replace Flores, and Jesse Marsh had the 3 names that could be a part of the discussion. For Brazil, it's Wesley. For Spain, you know that Lamine Yamal and Nico Williams are going to be a part of your roster. They're just not going to start. So then how's it going to look for Luis de la Fuente? That's not information that you want to have people piece together. So it's Osasuna's Victor Munoz going through a knock. He remained. And De La Fuente once again said if there are no setbacks, we expect him to be available on the 15th. All 3 will be in a position to play. You're not going to sit there and tell people no. You're not going to sit there and say, well, yeah, give people a week to prepare for not having players that you say openly aren't going to be there. Man, that double negative. My mom's going to be driven crazy with that. So Morocco, 1-1 draw with Norway at Red Bull Arena in Harrison, New Jersey. Then it was Ezel Zuli coming off at halftime after a collision, after a corner. So initial assessments pointing to Ezel Zuli with a sprained MCL in his right knee. Early reports suggest recovery time of 3 to 4 weeks, which keeps him out of the group stage for Morocco. Undergoing further tests today. Obviously, we'll keep an eye on it. Early prognosis not encouraging. Ezel Zuli was part of this, and then you had Nusair Mazraoui. Defender came off in the 29th minute, which looked like a partial shoulder dislocation. Obviously, early reports are going to sit there and it's like we'll assess and we'll sit there and we'll look at it. But if you find the video, you might be able to see things that are not going directions they're supposed to. So Mohamed Wabi said it was candid. He said 2 players went off injured, waiting to see how serious it is. I'm more concerned about that. Morocco gets Brazil first, then Scotland at Gillette, and then Haiti on June 24th here at Mercedes-Benz, which will obviously be turned into Atlanta Stadium by that point. So keeping an eye on Morocco here this morning as well. So you're getting these injuries, you're getting these knocks, and you're kind of trying to sit there and keep an eye on things. Neymar, obviously, you're keeping an eye on him when it comes to Brazil. Atalanta midfielder Ederson has been called up to replace Wesley on the squad. Neymar set to undergo an MRI today to evaluate a grade 2 muscle strain in the right calf as they get ready for their Group C opener against Morocco in 5 days' time. We mentioned Moise Bombito and Jesse Marsh can choose from Ralph Priso. Might be the replacement there. Luke DeFougerolles or Derek Cornelius might be the replacement in the starting 11 if Bombito is ruled out. And so we'll keep an eye on all of that as well. Other news, Luka Modric scores in what probably is going to be his last home international match in the 2-1 win over Slovenia, 198th appearance. 29th goal. Croatia opens up against England in Dallas at Jerry World on June 17. Algeria has extended their head coach, Vladimir Petkovic, through the 28 year, beating the Netherlands in a recent friendly. They're going to start against Argentina on June 16th. And then you've got 4 sets of brothers. You have the Williams brothers, Iñaki for Ghana, Nico for Spain. The Doués, France and Ivory Coast, where you had one scorer on the other while the other was sitting on the bench watching. Then the Sutar brothers, Australia and Scotland, and Dirk Lucassen and Brian Brobby with Ghana and the Netherlands. So no sibling matchups, but you did get one when it came to the friendlies and how it was looking. All right, gossip, rumor, and innuendo off the field. Then we'll get into what to watch, where to watch it, and how to watch it. And then we'll get you into the twos, and that will be a show for today. It's still a lot of stuff, man. That is a lot of stuff that we've got to get into, and it's going to be like this on a daily basis. You know, dancing around and trying to get in all the news and try to talk to all of our guests and lay it all out for you on a daily basis. So the gossip, rumor, and innuendo. Liverpool, Chelsea, Barca positioning themselves to sign Al Hilal striker Darwin Nunez, according to Mundo Deportivo. Could reportedly terminate his contract unregistered from the Saudi Pro League in February. Wants to return to Anfield. Chelsea have identified Nunez as an option to provide competition for Joao Pedro. Barca have checked in on this and kicked the tires on the situation as well. An alternative if they fail to agree to Atletico de Madrid for forward Julian Alvarez. Team talk, Manchester United and Chelsea among the teams interested in Barcelona midfielder Marc Casado. Red Devils have held talks for the 22-year-old recently. The Blues have him on their radar. They can't guarantee him regular first-team minutes, and they have both sides yet to make an offer. AS Monaco reportedly in the lead. Casado expected to be moved on from the Camp Nou as they want to make room for other signings. Barca have identified Bayern Munich's Leonard Carl and Newcastle's Lewis Miley as potential signings for the future, according to Mundo Deportivo. La Liga champs reported to be getting that short list together, and Carl obviously being tracked with his season. Now you're going to be keeping an eye on the injury that is going to keep him out of the World Cup. Miley, 23 appearances in the Premier League this past year, added to Barca's list for versatility in the midfield. Juve, Manchester City, looking at Real Madrid attacking midfielder Brahim Diaz, according to Corriere dello Sport. Bianconeri keen to land a difference maker in the final third this summer. Spalletti is keen on the 26-year-old. Deal could be difficult, though, since he was preferred to stay at the Bernabeu beyond this summer. The Serie A club could also face competition for Manchester City. Diaz scored for Morocco in the 1-1 draw with Norway on the weekend. Cody Gakpo on the radar of Spurs, Villa, and Atletico de Madrid, according to Team Talk. Willing to move on from Anfield if he loses his place in the starting lineup to prospect Rio Ngomoha, who impressed on his England debut in the 1-0 win over New Zealand on Saturday. Everybody should be beating New Zealand, frankly, right now. Report adds that the Reds are open to including Gakpo in a swap deal to sign Yan Diomande, who continues to be linked as a Mo Salah successor. Bild, Bayern Munich set to dismiss all offers for Michael Olise amid interest from Real Madrid. Fabrizio Romano, PSG have no plans to break up their midfield pair of Joao Neves and Vitinha if anybody wants to knock on their door. Fabrizio Romano says PSG is going to go, nah, we're good. Inter Milan around 10 million euros short in their valuation of Curtis Jones. That's from our friends at Gazzetta. Also, it is from Marca, Ajax looking to secure a move for Marc-Andre ter Stegen, though they face difficulty in the pursuit of the 34-year-old due to his 15 million euro a season salary. Nicola Shira, once again, the Jeremy Manga sweepstakes. Leicester's winger has agreed to personal terms with Arsenal. Talks set to take place over a transfer fee. Gazzetta, Juve have identified Spurs keeper Guglielmo Vicario as their alternative to Liverpool's Alisson. Nicola Shira again. Villa keen on Como and Croatia's attacking midfielder Martin Baturina. Leandro Trossard attracting interest from Besiktas, but the Gunners aren't looking to offload him this summer. That's according to Team Talk. Rudy Galletti, Rangers striker Youssef Chermiti has caught the attention of Porto, PSV Eindhoven, and Galatasaray. Foot Mercato, AC Milan among several teams in Europe interested in Lille attacking midfielder Jeff the Malanda and Ben Jacobs. And we'll catch up with Ben and the rest of his news Levante striker Carl Ete-Eong being tracked by 2 clubs in the Premier League. Once again, that's from our buddy Ben Jacobs, one of the busiest men in show business. So what else is on Ben's mind this morning on a Monday? Ben is here in the U.S. He is assigned to follow the USMNT for the European media. London City advancing in talks with Alexia Putellas and helping to formalize a deal soon. Terms have never been an issue. Putellas has 2 other offers she's evaluating, and she doesn't want to rush the process. Vitaly Mykolenko signed a new 3-year deal with Everton. How do we know this? He is smiling at the camera, holding the pen in his left hand, contract in front of him, pen not touching the contract. So I guess we can assume that pen has either touched the contract already or it's about to. It is this pose. Sorry, wait, I need my pen. That pose. FIFA's reached an agreement with former France midfielder Lassana Diarra. Diarra had been seeking €65 million in compensation. Back in 2014, FIFA fined Diarra €10 million after he left Lokomotiv Moscow 1 year into a 4-year deal. CJEU ruled in October this was a breach of EU law. FIFA spokesperson says following the global agreement they've reached, Mr. Lassana Diarra and FIFA have settled all legal proceedings between them. FIFA has not made any admission of liability nor payment by way of compensation. FIFA will not be providing any further comment at this time. Spurs intend to place a 3rd bid for Jan-Paul van Hecke from Brighton. He's only got a year left on his deal, wants to join Spurs. Optimism and agreement can be reached. Matt Ritchie is now Bournemouth's new technical director, feeling that he represents the DNA of the club. He's got a strong relationship with Thiago Pinto. We mentioned the Ete-Eong deal. Bayern president Herbert Heiner has ruled out selling Olise. Florentino Perez's €150 million bid. Heiner said, quote, if Florentino wishes to make us an offer, which has not been the case so far, he can save himself the trouble, not even €150 million or more, end quote. So then yesterday, Feyenoord confirmed that Robin van Persie had been sacked as head coach. So that is your gossip, rumor, and innuendo this morning involving things around the planet, some involving World Cup, some not. Soccer on TV today. 2:45, Netherlands and Uzbekistan, a friendly on Fox Soccer Plus. FS2 has France and Northern Ireland at 3. And no, I am not Sophia Wilson. I forgot to knock that font off after the end of the quote. Pull that away. Morning, David. Fishing versus pool time. And Alex. Good morning, Alex. Hands off our favorite son, Louis Miley. France and Northern Ireland, FS2 at 3 o'clock. The Reveo is going on Fox Deportes. And match number 1, Ivory Coast and Canada, is done 12:30. They've got Venezuela and Canada going then. Fox O&E running the simulcast on all 4. MLS Next Pro, Columbus Crew 2 and Connecticut United. That is at 3 o'clock at Scott's Miracle Grove Field. Loons 2 and Sporting Kansas City 2 is at 8 o'clock. Once again, One Football, MLSNextPro.com, and YouTube. So you can go to the YouTube channel and see what's going on. Speaking of MLS Next Pro, it was a busy day, a busy night for the twos. Chicago Fire FC2 coming to town, the Turner Soccer Complex in Athens. And it was an early goal. And let me know if you've heard this phrase before. An early goal by Arif Kovac that got Atlanta United 2 on the board. Here's Jason on the call, courtesy of us, SDH Network and MLS Next Pro.
Right hand in the air. Deep to the back post looking for Cisse. Knocks it down and in. Goal! 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 Atlanta United 2, and it's that man, Arif Kovac. Cisse heads it back across, and Kovac on the spot to put it home into the roof. 1-0 Atlanta. Goal number 9 of the year for Arif Kovac. A poacher's goal after brilliant delivery from Santiago Pita. Cisse put it back across in the goal mouth, and Kovac latches onto it and puts it into the roof over Nemo. 1-0 Atlanta.
And it would be 1-0 until north of 90 minutes. And then that was where Atlanta United 2 would secure all the points, as the kids say. And it would start with this moment here at 90+2, once again, courtesy of us.
Pita trying to find the bouncing ball. Did for a moment. Continues to bring it forward. It bounces away from Dovolo. He's able to find it and turn. Enzo Dovolo driving into the attacking half on the dribble. Dovolo to the top of the 18. Enzo with the goal! 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 Atlanta United 2. Enzo Dovolo with some help from Santiago Pita. And Atlanta puts the hammer down and makes it 2-0. Dovolo carried it forward. The shot might have taken a deflection right in front of Nemo. It goes into the roof. And it's 2-0 Atlanta.
2-0 Atlanta, and then it would be 3-0 basically on the next possession. And it would be someone who you've heard a lot in these highlights, Santi Pita, getting on the board. Once again, courtesy of us.
Result holds. Atlanta will move into fourth, ahead of Chattanooga, ahead of Toronto, ahead of OCB, all on 22 points. Ahead of New England Revolution, also on 22. Atlanta win it back again. Butts will send Pita through. Atlanta could find a third here. Pita, top of the 18. Santi, goal! 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 Atlanta United 2. Stoppage time, celebrations times 2. Dovolo first, and then Santiago Pita on his return after a long injury absence. Pita makes it 3-0.
3-0 Atlanta United 2 with the win. And just to go through the numbers with you, same score second time around. Remember, Atlanta United 2 back in late April beat Chicago Fire 2 in Bridgeview by the final score of 3-0. Shot 16-13 for the twos. Shots on target 6-2 for the twos. 8 blocks for each side. Passing accuracy for Atlanta United 2, about 81%. 78% in passing accuracy for Chicago Fire. 5 corners each. 6 crosses for Atlanta United. No crosses completed for the Fire. 6 offside for Atlanta United 2 of the 7 that were whistled on the day. 2 saves for James Donaldson. 3 for Nemo. So Nemo found the ball 3 times for Chicago Fire 2. Fouls, 36 fouls called. 36 fouls. 21 of those on Chicago Fire 2. 21 fouls for the Fire, 3 yellow cards, 1 yellow for Atlanta United 2 on 15 fouls. And that gets us to the post-match part of things. Actually, tell you what, let me get into your standings just so you've got them. After what happened last night in MLS Next Pro. Eastern Conference, Crown Legacy has only lost once so far this year in their first 13. They're 5 points clear at 30 points. Red Bulls, they are 5 points back. They have 1 more win than OCB and the Revolution. OCB have a better goal difference by 1, which puts them in third and the Revs in fourth. Crew 2, once again, who play this afternoon, they are at 23 points in 13 matches played. Atlanta United 2 right now, 22 points, 7 wins. Superior goal difference to Chattanooga FC. That's why they are in 6th. Chattanooga FC is in 7. TFC2 has 6 wins. They are in 8th. That would be your playoffs right now. And then it would be pick your partner for the playoffs. And it would be interesting to see who Orlando City B would pick. Would they pick Atlanta or would they pick Columbus Crew 2? Because remember, it's pick your opponent in the playoffs. So would OCB pick Atlanta or would they pick Crew 2? That would be the question right now. So with Atlanta United 2 in 6th, 9th place, Huntsville City Football Club, 19 points, 13 matches. Philadelphia Union 2, they caught fire recently. They're now at 5-6-2-1. They're at 18. Fire 2 at 16. NYCFC 2 is at 15. Connecticut United, 13 points. FC Cincinnati 2, 9 points on 3 wins. They are 3-9 this year, 0-6 away from home. Carolina Core got their first win of the season as they have had the complete turnover of the front office. They're at 1-7-5-1, 9 points on the season. And Inter Miami CF2 is looking for their first win of the year. They played 11 matches, 0-8-3-1. They are at 4 points. They are 5 points adrift from the bottom. Now it's time to catch you up on what happened after the match. And first and foremost, it is the conversation that Jason had with head coach Jose Silva after the big win postgame, 3-0 over Atlanta United 2, courtesy of the team, their own selves.
All right, let's start with a little bit different shape than maybe we've seen lately. Is it something just you've been working to with the team, or was it just the players you had today, or?
Yeah, it's a mix, no? It's a mix. It's true that when we are in open half, we use that formation, like the 3-4-3, where Enzo gets more wide, Chica kind of like sheep, and he creates I call it like a false fullback.
Yeah.
Because it's like a center back. But in this game, I think the academy and second team are doing a good job and put players in international teams. So we have a lot of guys that they weren't here. So we thought that the best way with the personnel we have and the way that they play is use the 3-4-3 from the defending pace and also in the attacking pace.
What does that mean to you when you're able to absorb, 4 absences to international duty tonight and still win 3-0?
I mean, it's incredible now because as a coach now, we give you the challenge to know or to pick who should be the next one, and this help a lot to improve the environment in practice because now the guys that are coming from international break this week, they are going to see, oh, these guys did this. Now I have to keep my spot, so it's a healthy competition.
A very young central midfield pair with Andrew and with Didi today. How did you rate their play?
I think they were amazing. Counting that Didi is a player that had not been a lot of chances lastly. And with Andrew, I mean, we have 11 Andrew. I told to the guys, we have 11 Andrews on the field, this team will win the league.
Yeah, I thought Andrew was the man of the match tonight overall. I thought he was the best player on the field in the first half. Just everywhere. To have a young player come in and do that in his first start, that's impressive.
Yeah, it is. We are really happy with him, and for me, the most important thing is a kid that in the beginning of the season, I call it like there are 3 roles. Now you can be the backup, you can be the bench player, you can be the starter. He started as a backup, as a third option, and now he's a player and he's trying to push for that starter position.
Jose Silva, head coach of Atlanta United 2, after the 3-0 win on the weekend over Chicago, fired 2. And mama, there goes that man again, Arif Kovac, and getting another goal on the board for Atlanta United 2. He's got 9 on the year now, leading the Golden Boot race in MLS Next Pro. And so here is the post game with Jason and Arif Kovac, courtesy of the team. And we can't thank them enough for letting us share it.
Yeah, well, it was a corner. We worked on it. Went back post to Mo. He headed it back, and it opened up, and then I just easily tapped it in.
You've been consistently in the right place at the right time as of late. What's it feel like when you're playing with this kind of confidence right now?
Well, I work really hard, so it just hard work pays off, and yeah, that's it. I believe a lot in myself, and yeah, day by day,
One of the things that's impressive about this team is you guys in the attack work so hard defensively.
Yeah.
How does that make everything work?
Well, coach likes that, and if you don't do it, it's hard to be on the field. So, I tell myself that I need to really help press and defend, and yeah, we push each other. We really just want to make sure it's an 11 defending, not just the defenders.
That core group with you leading the line in front right now, does that make it easier when you have guys come in like Andrew, like Henry today, getting their?
Yeah, I mean Andrew, I know him really well. He's my friend. Academy kid, played with him a couple of times. Really good. Amir as well. I'm happy for them, and I'm glad they got their opportunity and took it.
I feel like you guys have built a real core that makes the team easier to under academy players.
Yeah. I mean, the team is really open. Everyone's friends with everybody, and it's easy to come in and get going together.
Good bounce back after the loss on the road. What do you want to see continue to build for this team as you get to the
I want us to just keep being a ruthless team, not lose at home, not lose away, and just go where we belong, at the top.
Arif Kovac, 9 goals on the season, got the first goal for Atlanta United 2 in the win over Chicago Fire FC 2 on the weekend. 2 interviews down, 1 to go. And now it's time to catch up with the man of the match from Jason's perspective, Andrew Hardinas. And it's one of the young academy players once again stepping up for Atlanta United 2. And here's his time at the table. I think it's the first time that we've had him post-match. Here's Andrew and Jason.
Talk about the first half felt like you were covering every blade of grass on the field. How did it feel being out there from the start tonight?
To be honest, I wasn't really nervous, but I did feel like I had to have a good game. I mean, it's my first start. You got to give a good impression. And I think a little bit of adrenaline came in because I wasn't really feeling tired at the beginning of the game, and it's kind of one of the traits I have to try and cover a lot of the ground.
Yeah, I mean, you were impacting the game both defensively, a couple of well-timed tackles, but also getting forward. In the way that Coach Silva had everything set up today, what did he ask you to do coming in?
Well, he was really asking me to stay in the pocket, try to get the ball, and look for a forward pass in behind. And sometimes it was on, sometimes it wasn't. Also to keep the ball, try and move the ball, move it around, get the opposition a little tired. That's really it.
You and Didi, how much time had you guys had playing together in the academy?
I would say a year and a half, but not consistently playing together.
You guys blended together really well. It looked like you played together.
Yeah, I mean, we're close off the field, so I think it wouldn't be a lot.
Tell me a little bit about the center back group has been consistent group, guys who have played in this league for a few years, guys with experience. When you come into the team like tonight, how important is it to have veterans around you like that?
I mean, it just gives us confidence. It knows that I can, if I don't have an option forward, I can just turn around and play them and they can get us out of trouble. And, you know, just confident that if the man I'm marking beats me, that they'll be there.
And you and Demola finishing the game out. What is it like for you guys who've come to this academy and had a lot of success together, chased a lot of titles with the MLS Next side, to now be kind of growing into the MLS Next road group together?
I mean, it feels good. It's a lot of fun. We talked about it before the games that it'd be fun if we're all rostered one game, which happened today. A lot of us were rostered. And, I mean, it just makes it easier to fight for each other on the field.
So big home win tonight, back here again next week. What do you think is kind of the next step for this team to continue improving as a year?
I think just keep battling like we did today. I think we'll keep getting results, win the next game, and just keep going from there.
Andrew Hardinas, midfielder, part of the center back pairing as well. And big win for Atlanta United 2, 3-0 over Chicago Fire FC 2. Chattanooga FC comes to town next Saturday for a matchup against Atlanta United 2. That'll be on the network. Maddie and I will have that call for you. And with the logistics of all of the ASTs and all of the activity that's going on, that's kind of where things are going to be for the next little bit. And it's going to be all over the place. And just make sure you set your notifications. That will be the request that I have for you going forward. Set your notifications because we're going to be all over the place, and it's going to be trying to figure out where live is and where we will be. If you want to come and visit us in a certain situation, if we're out there live, if you want to just listen to us wherever we are, it'll be some combination of here in the morning and reminder once again, come the tournament, which is now this week. For the duration of the World Cup, SDH AM will be on every morning, including weekends. So 9:05 now Saturday and Sunday during the World Cup to get you all started and get you rolling on your day. Saturdays and Sundays added for the duration of the World Cup. So now 7 days a week SDH AM. 7 days a week, Atlanta Soccer Tonight, 92.9 The Game, Odyssey app, 92.9 The Game, Facebook, YouTube channel, YouTube channel. So Jason's going to have the combination of Atlanta Soccer Tonight / stoppage time. It's going to be on 92.9 The Game's YouTube channel the entire time. Then when it's not, when it moves over from the 10 to 11 hour number 2 stoppage time will be exclusively to the YouTube channel from a 92.9 perspective. Audio released later. Also, like I said, with us, we kick in the mornings, Saturday and Sunday this weekend. So once again, remember, no SOT for the World Cup. The Apertura is complete. The Medio will start. Picks of the week will be posted in the Discord. And so picks of the week for the Medio start this week. Apertura, done. Medio starts this week. Everybody's wiped out. Everybody's back down to 0. John will continue to lose every week because he's awful. So, Medio starts this week. Medio is the World Cup tournament. Then, after the World Cup is over, we pick back up with the Clausura on SOT. That goes up to MLS Cup. Then, MLS Cup is the Campeón de Campeones. And then, once again, the winner of Campeón de Campeones, high and hearty handshake, and all of that, and we'll figure something out. But Medio starts this week for Picks of the Week in the Discord. So keep an eye out. Picks of the Week posted in the Discord, and it will be that run for all of that activity. So Picks of the Week, no SOTs, but Picks of the Week will be posted in the Discord. I promise it'll be done before matches actually start instead of missing the first one like I did, I think, like the last month of shows. So that's the way that this will run. Aperture is done. So the Campeón for the Apertura advances to the Campeón de Campeones. Medio starts this week through the World Cup final. Champion goes to Campeón de Campeones. Clausura goes up to MLS Cup. Campeón there, Campeón de Campeones. The three champs go up against MLS Cup in the Discord. Everything MLS Cup related. And that's where we are, and then we'll take a break on Picks of the Week until the sprint season kicks in 2027. So that's the rundown of what that's going to look like. And I'm not Andrew Hardinas, so let me remove that quickly. So that's your rundown of all of the picks and all the behavior and everything that we've got to focus on here, because the World Cup is kicking off this week, which is crazy to think about. Crazy to think about. Absolutely crazy. If you missed it, required reading might actually be The Guardian, because in addition to our friends at the Marshall Islands, they've got a piece on Kiribati and how they are trying to fight rising sea levels and chase after being a part of the World Cup pursuits starting in the next cycle. And so they actually attended the meetings in Vancouver to try and impress upon both Oceania and on FIFA the idea that they should be at the table, and they're trying their dead level best to get there. So required reading for the day is here at The Guardian. And we are going to catch up with our friends at the Marshall Islands. That is going to be toward the end of the tournament, because they do have some news that they're trying to finalize, and Matt and Lloyd will be with us toward the end of the tournament, and they will let us know what the update is when it comes to anything and everything going on with the Marshall Islands. But here's your Kiribati update in Oceania itself. Also, go to The Guardian and pick up that story as well. I'll leave that up for a little bit while we track all of the other stories that I might have missed in the interim. And let's see, I'm trying to see if we've missed anything, frankly. And obviously, we'll keep an eye on the David Sullivan situation at West Ham. Declan Rice is named the vice captain for England for the World Cup, and Russell Martin is in advanced talks to go to Leicester City. So Russell Martin looking to do my way or the highway. We'll see if Leicester is interested. If Russell Martin continues to be in the style of administration that he's been in the past, and his last two places were not too kind to his style. So it'll be interesting to see if that is in fact going to be pursued with Leicester and Russell Martin. We mentioned Alexi Putellas and London City. Mary Earps is set to join them as well. That comes from our friends at the Telegraph. So London City might be, trying to stack here, and keep an eye on all of that when it comes to the development of the WSL. And according to Thomas Tuchel, Jude Bellingham has a fight on his hands for his starting spot. So we'll keep an eye on what it looks like with England and the starting 11 there. And apparently, and Jason told me about this, and I've yet to see it, but I do know that it apparently exists. Ronaldinho and Lamine Yamal were trying to kick a ball through an elevated golden arches at the restaurant that has Same, And Lamine Yamal couldn't do it in the TikTok that was released. Ronaldinho was like one touch, bang. And I can't say that I'm surprised. Really, I can't. But yeah, the two friendlies today, Netherlands and Uzbekistan, France and Northern Ireland. We have Peru and Spain early tomorrow morning before we come on the air, 3 a.m. in Eastern time. And then you have a bunch of women's friendlies that are going on, women's activity in the women's Euros, and then friendlies kick back in once again. With Argentina and Iceland at Auburn, we'll be there for that one. And we will let you know what's going on there with all of that vibe that's attached to that particular activity. And it's going to be a fun vibe. Quickly, USCP women's national team coach Chris Maravali has named a 13-player roster for the upcoming domestic training camp at the Arthur M. Blank U.S. Soccer National Training Center. That is going to go June 11 through 16 down in Fayetteville. They're prepping for October's IFCPF World Cup at the National Training Center. So the roster was released this morning, and once again, coming on the heels of Adapt and Thrive Invitational, and it will be October 14 through 23 at the National Training Center. 11 of the 13 players took part in last month's Adapt and Thrive Invitational, including the past two CP Women's Players of the Year, Jesslyn Kunel of Panama City and Cassidy Leak of Murrieta, California. Two-time Player of the Year winner Michelle Cross from Mission Viejo returns to the group, missed last month's camp, one of 8 players part of the team's run to the Intercontinental Cup title last August in Loughborough, England. So it is represented twice by the state of Georgia. Rebecca Ostrander, Gabriela Scotto, and Echo Yale are your keepers. Michelle Cross, Cassidy Leak, and Joey Martin of Smyrna are your defenders. Janie Richardson, Isabella Stankunis, and Addison Earhart, your midfielders. And the forwards, Leah Glazer, Carolina Henson, Jesslyn Kunel, and Emerald Gordon, who participated in the Adapt and Thrive Invitational out of Austell. So Chris Maravali is going to be there with Meg Morris and your keeper coach, Brooke Bradley, 11th through the 19th down at the Arthur M. Blank U.S. Soccer National Training Center down in Fayetteville. So that is the latest that is happening there. Let me check headlines once again before we get out of town today. Reminder tonight, once again, tonight. Well, we're going to make it right. And it is Jason on Atlanta Soccer tonight. And that one is going to be at 10 o'clock. So 10 o'clock is going to be Atlanta Soccer tonight. And I want to get the dynamic correct here. 10 o'clock, 92.9 The Game, Odyssey app, 92.9 YouTube channel. And stoppage time will kick in at 11 o'clock on the YouTube channel exclusively, the three-dimensional experience. It's going to be on 92.9 The Game, Odyssey app, YouTube from 10 to 11, YouTube channel exclusively from 11 to midnight or however long Jason wants to go. And so 11 o'clock, it transfers over to the YouTube channel, and obviously we'll keep an eye on that. And what we'll do every day is we'll come up with like 2 minutes. Your 2-minute warning about what you're missing on Atlanta Soccer tonight. And that'll be a part of everything that we do here this morning. And just raise all kinds of you-know-what going forward. So let's see. We mentioned Florentina Perez. We mentioned about Christian Eriksen. Ederson was called up. And Rafa Leao was sent off for punching an opponent in Portugal's win. And I think that caught us up. If you have not, by the way, signed up for the Morning Espresso newsletter, please do. Because when you do, you get all the early headlines in your inbox. Jason has all the stuff that you need to know that you might have missed leading into us, which leads into our day here at the SDH Network. Oh, this. I meant to talk about this. And for those of you watching on the video side, it is one of those things that, you sit there and you're going, well, hey, how about this to add to your stacks and your clothing for the tournament? And it literally is one of those things that you see on Instagram, and it's a click through, and it's like the waffle sweatshirts, or the waffle quarter zips. And so I picked this one up, and obviously it's the Cabo Verde version. I was debating picking up a lot of the others, at least just some of the cool stuff. But we'll see how this one responds to being washed. I figured I'd break it out here on a Monday and let you know what it looks like. So I was an hour off, 11:30 local, 10:30 our time, as the Emma Hayes, Jaden Shaw, Emily Sonnet press conference down in Brazil on the MD-1s. So like I said, we'll have that for you tomorrow morning as a part of our coverage. Wall to wall, once again, the MARTA line, the MARTA merch. We're going to check in with the designer over at MARTA, walk through the process, and maybe he'll be wearing some of the stuff and make us all jealous all over again. And then at 10 o'clock, KCD is going to join us to return to Casey White. She coached the US TSTs and was ready for that. Didn't tell us she was doing that. And so we're going to talk TST. We're going to talk about national team. We're going to talk about the women, talk about the NWSL, talk about Major League Soccer, all the things with KCD when she rejoins us at 10 o'clock. And then at 10:30, our friend Karn Saxena is going to be joining us to talk about all of the travel plans that you might have. Karn's app that he came on and talked about last time. We'll get into that conversation with Karn Saxena coming up at 10:30. So it's a stacked show tomorrow as we're getting ready to go to Auburn, and we'll lay it all out for you there as the Road to 26 tomorrow night. Jordan Hare Stadium, north of 82,000 folks are going to be there to see Argentina and Iceland, and we'll be there to cover it for you. We'll set it all up as a part of our Tuesday here on SDH AM. So tonight, Atlanta Soccer tonight with Jason, 10 o'clock, and we'll be back at it again in a little less than 22 hours. And since it is the end of the show, let me thank everybody who was hanging out with us this morning. Alex and David and Dell on the Twitch pitch. Dell's got tickets that he needs to get rid of. And then Ricky Ricardo, as always, thanks for dropping by as you always do. And thanks to all of you for hanging out however you do so. Since it is the end of the show, and we went through a lot of stuff today. We're that busy. Means I get to do this. Mucha Plati, I'll play it safe. Back in less than 22. Atlanta Soccer tonight at 10 on 92.9 The Game in the Odyssey app. See you in the morning.